What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's the NFL season. Kind of. I mean, not really. If you ask Matt Gajewski, this is the NFL. He told me that he had trouble sleeping last night because the Hall of Fame game was approaching. But we're here, baby. Look, any football is good football right now. And, let's not downplay this. The contest with 50,000 up top on DraftKings filled a while ago, and then they threw another one out there with 20K up top. So there's some interest here, and we're here to talk about it. It's going to be a fun one. New York Jets, Cleveland Browns in Canton for the Hall of Fame game 2023 season. Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on the Twitters. Hit your boy up. While you're there, say hello to Matt Gajewski. Some may refer to him, and by some I mean me, as the preseason pioneer. This man is the only one you want to listen to when it comes to preseason DFS, and we got him with us today. What's up, brother?
Thank you for the kind words. Much appreciated, man.
Yeah, man.
Very happy to be back here with all of you guys talking some preseason NFL DFS, God's game. I did have trouble sleeping last night thinking about this game. We've been waiting for this moment for a long time, so I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here with all of you, and I'm glad you all could make it. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, man. We got some good stuff to get into. So we're abbreviated because I guess MLB Lock was later today. So I just want to take a couple minutes, set the table, and then we're diving straight into these players. We'll build a lineup as well and see what we can come up with. Of course, it's Showdown. It's a little bit different, but I'm going to ask you out of the gate for people that are new to preseason DFS, just finding their way into it, maybe right now, maybe just finding their way to the channel, which, by the way, hammer that thumbs up for us. Subscribe to the channel. All that stuff goes a long way. Take a single second out of your day if you appreciate this type of stuff. Atone for your sins and hit that thumbs up. And then we'll get right back to business. Anyway, first things first. It's a huge, huge difference, especially given that there's no different salaries or anything. And half of these guys you've never heard of, and you'll never hear from them again after this season. But what are the biggest ways in which preseason, specifically the Hall of Fame game, differs from the regular season when we're playing DFS?
Yeah, so Showdown specific, you're going to weight different position groups a little differently. And I mean, not just today, play the Showdown slates when we get to week 1 of the preseason DFS, week 2, week 3, they'll have them, and there's going to be edges in those contests with everyone focusing on the main slate. So first of all, we have to think about playing time. We're going to see some guys get a quarter, some guys get a half, some guys not play at all. Maybe someone gets just a drive. So the positions, defense and kicker that actually accrue points through the entire game are exceedingly important in these contests. Normal Showdown slates in the regular season, you probably don't want to roster kickers. They're a little gross. You don't want to captain them. Completely different story here. We want the safe plays where we can guarantee the points. Not to mention, these are sloppy, low-scoring games. Defenses do really well against backup quarterbacks. Kickers in low-scoring environments, their points end up being worth more. So this is all really important and why those two position groups matter a ton here.
One important question, too. Do we only have one kicker on each roster?
Yes, thankfully.
Okay. Yeah, that's big because sometimes you have no idea if they're carrying 2 kickers and there's some type of competition in a preseason game. One interesting thing about this game too, and I don't think it should be overlooked. I did the betting video. Matt does all the DFS stuff over here. I'm doing betting videos, betting breakdowns for every single preseason game on the Odd Shopper channel. So if you're not over there, hit us up, subscribe, and hang out for that. We had a great year last year. We'll look to run it back. Same with Matt here, his DFS breakdown every morning of the games. But this is week 1 technically, but these are the only 2 teams that actually play 4 preseason games. So you can't even consider them treating it necessarily as a week 1 game. Like this isn't apples to apples with week 1 last year or the year before with Robert Saleh or Stefanski. And neither of these guys were head coaches when you had 4 preseason games back in 2019, because COVID year, we didn't have preseason at all. So I look at this as kind of an oddity. Like we don't necessarily know what it is, but at the same time, I do think you can treat it as almost like a week 4 or the last preseason game in the sense of even Joshua Dobbs isn't going to play behind Deshaun Watson. Stefanski's going with his 3 and 4 quarterbacks today.
Yeah, that makes it really interesting. And you think that probably trickles down to some of the other skilled players too, even the guys that weren't necessarily 100% ruled out. If Dobbs isn't going to play, are we going to see much of the second team? The guys that are on the second team that do play, are we talking about a drive, 2 drives here? And luckily, they did announce some players out, but I mean, this isn't an exhaustive list. There are going to be players that do see one drive. And I think we can parse through that. We've gotten a good look at training camp for these teams through the first week here. And I think we've got a pretty good read on who's going to play meaningful snaps, and who are the guys we actually want to roster.
Let's do it. Mekhi Becton fighting for his career as well. That should be interesting today. Dude, he apparently lost a lot of weight, treating this as a regular season game, trying to be a starter. But aside from that, you're not going to see a lot of starters today. We'll talk quarterbacks here. And as always, real happy to have you guys with us for football season, whether it's Hall of Fame or not. This is what we live for. Quarterback to me is really interesting in this game. I mean, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, which is the most like it doesn't feel good rolling off the tongue. Thompson-Robinson, the hyphenated name does nothing for me. But dual threat quarterback might play a half. Like, I mean, you might see Kellen Mond and Dorian Thompson-Robinson both play a half. He's got some wheels. He can run. We know that he's a dual threat quarterback, which helps in the preseason because most of these guys can't throw. But don't you think it's possible that there's only two quarterbacks that are going to play today because there's no Watson and there's no Dobbs. Do you think we're going to see a half from each? Do you think we're going to see 1.5 quarters or 1 quarter from Mond and more from Thompson-Robinson, or are we splitting this down the middle in your opinion?
I think they're going to play exactly a half each. We're going to see Mond in the first half. I think that's just kind of veteran deference. We've got a rookie in DTR on the other side. So I don't think that one of them's clearly ahead of the other by any means. And honestly, that might be better for DTR playing in the second half. He's going to get third and fourth stringers on defense, whereas Mond might face off against some of the second team. If there's a rogue starter playing, that's going to be Mond facing those players. And to speak to DTR's wheels, he is the better rusher of the pair. This guy went over 600 yards in each of his last 2 seasons at UCLA, ran an incredible 40-yard dash for quarterback, 4.56. He's got legit athleticism. Mond takes off and runs a little bit himself, not quite as much as DTR, but I think if you're making quarterback tiers, it's DTR at the top, Mond is second, and then the Jets guys come behind them.
Yeah, probably. Corey Bomber said he thinks that Zach plays a half. I was talking to Matt about this before. Like, we don't know for sure. I would actually be, excuse me, I would be surprised if Zach Wilson played a full half. I also don't want to overlook the fact that week 1 of the preseason against the Eagles last year, he got hurt and missed like 6 weeks, and Joe Flacco had to start the season. Obviously, he's kind of fighting for his life in the NFL as well. But you have Tim Boyle behind him, and then you've got the preseason god, Chris Streveler. Boy can run. He go look up his preseason stats. They're ridiculous. A half seems like a lot to me for Wilson. Is it possible? Sure. I personally was thinking more of a quarter for him tonight in a meaningless game.
That's my intuition as well. I mean, Zach Wilson's going to be their backup. They still have a ton invested in him. I think their regime is probably hoping that Rodgers can teach him, put him under his wing, and then maybe they can turn to him down the line at a cheaper price. So I think most of Zach Wilson's run is going to come in the first quarter and then down the line in future preseason games. I think what they're really going to do is evaluate that third string job. Boyle's been a third stringer and a backup in some places. Streveler, he generally is a practice squad guy, back of the roster guy, which is awesome for preseason. What we like about him especially is that he runs. But I think you're going to see second quarter on split between Streveler and Boyle. Probably Streveler getting most of the mop-up work in the second half.
I think so too. I mean, Streveler late in the game is just really interesting to me. Like, you're right. We just because of playing time, we probably have to put him behind DTR and behind Kellen Mond. But it's a spot that intrigues me. You know, first of all, this in the preseason, he's been actually good. He can run 71 yards on 9 attempts last year, even led the Jets in rushing in week 2, completed 73% of his passes, 8.4 yards per attempt. Obviously, it's just preseason, but it's 3 games, 5 touchdowns to 1 interception. And if you back it up to seasons before he came over to the Jets, he wasn't bad either. Boyle's been terrible in the regular season. 3 touchdowns to 8 interceptions in limited work, most of it with the Lions. But in the preseason, he actually hasn't been bad. He's played 10 preseason games, 9-3 touchdown to interception ratio. Like, it's neither of these guys have been terrible in the preseason. And, you know, Boyle actually has some NFL experience. It's just a matter of how much do we expect them to play.
That's 100% it. And I think Strevler should definitely be in your pool if you're running out 20 lineups or more, probably. Like, he's a guy you could probably get overweight to the field on with just 10 to 15% of your lineups because we're going to see so much ownership on DTR and Mond. I think that's justified. They're just the easy projections in this spot. But with the uncertainty with Strevler, especially for those of you playing like the big tournaments, the 50K up top, you might get a half out of Strevler. We just don't know for sure. And I think in big tournaments, that's where you want to try to capitalize on that.
Terry Scott said, guys, is 600 too much salary to leave on the table, you think? Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's good. Anything else at quarterback? Because it is really one of the most important positions, judging playing time, and there's less of them than there are running backs and receivers.
With the Jets, what the person in the chat said, sorry, excuse me, I forgot who said this. Wilson's the best player that's going to play the position tonight. So even in a quarter in tournaments, that could potentially get you there. And then we didn't talk a lot about Tim Boyle outside of just his regular season catastrophe whenever he's appeared. But to your point, decent in the preseason. He's going to be the least owned of this group. So that could be a potential feather in your cap if he ends up playing a little more than you think. Again, it's pretty uncertain here.
Let's get to running backs, man. This is a lot to break down. Is Israel Abanikanda going to be a guy that we should be targeting today? I mean, because he's got some talent. Is this someone that we should be looking at as one of the top plays, or is he far behind someone like Hassan Hall for you?
I like Abanikanda, and I don't think the gap is wide. When you break this down, Breece Hall's not going to play. You have known commodities in Zonovan Knight and Michael Carter. So these are examples of players that I think might get a series, might get 2 series. Not a lot of playing time. And behind them, you have Abanikanda. He was a 5th-round draft pick, hyper productive in his final year at Pitt. The beat reporters have talked about him working out the kinks as he transitions to the NFL. He's had some problems just playbook-wise, being in the right spot. This is the perfect time to work through that. Behind him, you have Travis Dye and Damaria Crockett. Those guys are not making the roster. If they want to keep 4 backs here, Abanikanda's the guy they need to evaluate. If they want to see whether Abanikanda can maybe jump a Zonovan Knight, this is where you see that. And I think you probably get a half out of him, which probably puts him pretty close to the Cleveland backs, if not right on par.
A half out of him would be great in a game like this. I mean, because you're not going to have Breece Hall. I mean, how much are we really going to get out of Zonovan Knight and Carter in this game? I keep going back to the fact that they get to play 4 preseason games and they might just not care really. And this is just like a pure evaluation thing where it's, Abanikanda and Travis Dye and Damaria Crockett, like these guys that are getting the work. I mean, let's break down the whole running back position. I'll let you run with it. And of course, our boy Ben Rasa said, when a 4 quarterback, 2 defense combo wins this, we'll officially be back in business. Yeah, it's true, dude. But we're doing it anyway. How are you ranking running backs?
I do have a slight preference to the Cleveland guys. And I saw someone ask in chat about updating for Jerome Ford officially being out. That's taken care of. So projections all good on the back end for Cleveland. They have 1 less running back active.
And shout out to Matt for updating projections while he's doing a live show.
That's what I'm here for, guys. Here for you. But Cleveland's got 4 active running backs, so you can project them a little easier than the 5 active for New York. And we had the coach straight up come out and say, you're going to see John Kelly and Hassan Hall handle most of the work here. You have Nate McCrary on the roster. He's getting cut for sure. He's been cut multiple times. He's just a guy that is essentially someone you use in practice when you have the expanded rosters. Maybe he gets some run in the 4th quarter, but I don't think it's going to be significant. Demetric Felton is a pass catching back. He actually played receiver for this team last year. So he's not a guy we're expecting for a large role on the ground. That means John Kelly and Hassan Hall are basically going to split the carries 50-50 here for the most part, with some of that change going to Felton and McCrary. I don't know at what point you see these guys play. I'm anticipating Kelly gets the first half. Hall gets more of the cleanup work. Kelly's just a veteran in the NFL. He's been around since 2018. Hassan Hall's a UDFA. He played at both Louisville and Georgia Tech. He's 6 feet, 195 pounds. So doesn't exactly have great size. But then again, the coach just straight up came out and told us these players are getting most of the work. So I do rank them slightly ahead of Abanikanda just because of the projectability there. but I wouldn't be surprised if the workload's pretty similar here between all three of these top backs.
Kind of crazy. These coaches have been pretty forthright with us when it comes to what they plan on doing today. Like if it's Andy Reid could be like, yeah, Mahomes might get a drive or so, and then he plays a quarter and a half. How did that happen?
Yeah, he's done the exact opposite too, where he's like, Mahomes is going to get the first half, and then he gets a drive. Reid is the worst for preseason.
He is. Here's the problem. He goes straight game flow. So if Mahomes drives down the field and scores, he won't play again. But if Mahomes has like a couple tough drives, he'll keep him out there for 5 drives in the first half. It makes no sense at all. But that's what he does. Oh, by the way, guys, PrizePicks. 2 things to consider here, and then I want to get into wide receivers because we're up against it. PrizePicks, if you sign up, you're getting a full month of all of our content, including all of Matt's preseason content, projections, the depth charts, and everything else. It's amazing. That's also $1 for the first week. Say you're already on PrizePicks or whatever. For tonight's game, if you wanted to jump in, it's only $1 for whatever contest you're in. All of the projections, everything that we have for preseason is $1 single to check it out. But how about this, Matt? PrizePicks, not only are you getting the 100% first match deposit bonus up to $100, meaning you put $100 in, you get another 100. You put 20 in, you get another 20, whatever it is, up to $100. Also, all of our tools, not just for football, but for every single sport, are 100% free when you sign up and deposit on PrizePicks for the first time. Link in the description and chat. I'll hit you with something wild, and this is awesome. They have preseason props that you can add to your cards.
I actually just found out about this. Someone DM'd me, and now I'm kind of kicking myself that I had like 5 minutes before the stream where I didn't check this out. This is something I'm definitely going to be looking at.
This is your wheelhouse, dude.
I know, man. Like I should have thought of it. This is honestly an oversight by me.
Like I'm thinking, we know your projections are already good. We have defined that. So if you sign up, you're getting forget about today. Like do it now or right after the game locks or do it whenever. But we've got 3 full weeks of preseason. We've got a lot of games coming up. 48 preseason games after this? Use
music to my ears.
What's that?
No, it's music to my ears. Go ahead.
Beautiful. Use match projections that you're going to get for free when you sign up at PrizePicks, because there's no way preseason props are sharp. There's just like no way that they can be that sharp. Use them for some of these preseason spots on PrizePicks. Of course, they have baseball and everything else, NFL full season lines and stuff. But man, what an advantage. You're getting it all for free anyway. Use it on PrizePicks. You're getting up to $100 free anyway if you deposit up to $100. Link in the description and in chat. If you're not at PrizePicks yet, dude, I didn't know they had preseason until I looked it up just earlier. That is awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to take advantage of this in the coming weeks. I didn't know either.
Yeah, only a few for today, but I mean, you're going to have a ton of games. So there's going to be a lot of them, no doubt. All right, let's talk wide receivers here. This is where I hate talking wide receivers for preseason football. I hate it, man. Because with running backs, if they're out there, they get carries. Sure, the offensive line isn't good, but at least they're getting touches that they can manufacture something. At least the quarterbacks have opportunities. With wide receivers, you have to guess the rotations right of wide receivers. You have to guess who's going to be out there getting the snaps. And then these bad quarterbacks still have to get them the football. So what are we doing with the wide receivers today, starting wherever the hell you want? There's a lot to break down here.
You laid it out well. I think if you're ranking these positions like a hierarchy, which positions you want to target first, you're looking at defenses first and foremost, then quarterbacks and kickers, then running backs. Wide receivers and tight ends are the lowest tier. These are your big GPP options. Not only the things you mentioned, but these rosters are carrying sometimes up to 14 receivers. We're lucky tonight where there's some injuries that have narrowed this down to about 7 per team. But that's still a lot of people. 7 people competing for limited targets. A lot of times these teams are run heavy. It's volatile. Now, if one of them catches a touchdown that can vault you up to the top, they generally are lower owned, but that kind of comes with the territory. I think for each side, you have a couple guys who stand out, players that have been ascending the depth chart, getting a lot of praise. And I'll kind of do this team by team. With the Jets, you're not expected to see any of the top 5 receivers on this team. The player who's been getting the most hype is Jason Brownlee. I think he actually is going to make the roster if he can translate that camp hype into actual preseason snaps and production. He came out of Southern Miss. He ran a 4.59 40. That's respectable. And he's been dominating in camp. They've even let him work with Rodgers for a little bit in some of these units. But this is still a UDFA, undrafted. He needs to play well in the preseason. He's going to get a lot of run. He would be the first Jets receiver I look to. From there, you have Irving Charles. He would be the second. This guy played 80 snaps last year with the Jets, came out of Indiana, Pennsylvania, and he's been working with the Wilson group, which means he should be getting some playing time with some of the better players. As far as it goes below them, Malik Taylor and Alex Erickson have bounced around rosters. Taylor spent time with the Packers. Erickson actually has gotten some regular season reps at times, but he's now 30 years old. He's a guy I could see out there with Wilson because he's a veteran. They want to actually evaluate what Wilson is capable of. Those are the four I'd look to on the Jets. On Cleveland, you have a couple really interesting names that are going to need evaluated. They've essentially invested pretty good draft capital in 2 or 3 of these guys in consecutive seasons. That goes all the way back to when Anthony Schwartz was drafted in 2021. He's a former 3rd-round pick out of Auburn. Speedster, has never quite stuck on the roster. He's now battling for a job. David Bell, 3rd-round pick in 2022. He's a guy that played 36 snaps in the preseason last year before getting hurt. Came out of Purdue, more of a bigger-bodied slot possession receiver. He's battling for a roster spot. And then you have 3rd-round pick this year, Cedric Tillman, who I do think is a lock to make this roster, but he's still jockeying for position. How much is he actually going to play? Comes out of Tennessee, 6'3", 215, 4.54, 40. And interesting enough, he played with DTR in high school. So there is a little bit of chemistry between these two going back a while. I think if you're ranking them, it's going to be Tillman 1 for me, some combination of David Bell and Schwartz, and then bringing up the rear would be Dalen Baldwin. He's a guy that's getting hype. I don't think he can make the roster just because of how much draft capital has been spent in the guys we mentioned before him.
So one of the questions then is, like, if this were a classic slate without, not a showdown slate, and we have multiple games, we'll be talking about a lot of them together throughout the preseason, we'd be viewing this differently. Do you have any interest in trying to stack with the quarterback that you think is going to be out there with certain receivers? Like these receivers play earlier, these guys come in and get the second half, or these guys get the final quarter, whether it's Wilson or Kellen Mond or DTR. Is there any strategy going into that approach? And I'm asking you because this isn't some single entry 2,000 player field. These are big contests tonight with, top heavy prize pools and a lot of entries. Is there any strategy that we can apply to this, trying to guess which of these guys will be playing with which quarterback? Because Matt, as well as I do, passing touchdowns are, they're few and far between in the preseason. If you were to get the quarterback wide receiver combo right on a passing touchdown, that is so huge in a preseason game, specifically a game with a 33.5 point total, that it's putting you ahead of a lot of other people getting that combo right.
Yeah, absolutely. So the guys I'll start with Cleveland and then do New York. The guys I think that are going to play earlier, so this would be with the Mond unit, are Tillman, David Bell, and Schwartz for the most part. Dalen Baldwin, I think, will play a little bit early too. And then the guys that are backups that I think are going to play mainly with DTR would be Mike Harley Jr. If he plays, he had a concussion this week. We'll see. He did return to practice on August 1st. Rashawn Henry and Austin Watkins. Those are the guys I expect to play later in the second half. The worry I have with this is they are evaluating both quarterbacks. So do you see some crossover between the two units? We just don't know that, but that would be my guess. For New York, the guys I think that are going to play early with the Wilson group are Irving Charles, Jason Brownlee, Malik Taylor, and Alex Erickson. The guys I anticipate playing later with Streveler are TJ Luther, Jerome Knapp, and Xavier Gibson. I don't think Streveler is as necessary to stack if you're going this route because he's mobile. So I'm still okay playing them naked, but if you are playing one of these receivers, I don't think it hurts to try to predict which quarterback would be throwing it to them most.
Okay. If you had to look at this and go, I think these guys get more snaps than anyone else, who are, the 4 or 5 receivers that you would put at the very top of the list to see the most amount of opportunities today, and then let the chips fall where they may, because that's how this goes. Like, if they're out there, that's really all you can ask for.
Jason Brownlee, He's on the Jets. Irving Charles on the Jets. From Cleveland, I would anticipate it being Dalen Baldwin and Cedric Tillman.
Okay. You know, there are going to be people out there that just don't really know what they're doing, and they're going to play like Alan Lazard, and they're going to play Corey Davis, and
Happens every year.
What? Yeah,
Happens every year.
Every year. They'll be like, man, that's a good price tag on Amari Cooper today. And then end up playing those guys. Those are zeros. Do you think some of the edge in preseason, because I know you love preseason DFS more than anybody, do you think some of the edge comes from, like, what percent of lineups do you think are dead before they start on a night like tonight?
Last year, if I'm not mistaken, and it's shrunken a little bit over the years, as you can kind of predict as DFS has gotten harder. But last year, there were a significant number of lineups. I don't remember the exact figure. I would guess it was probably between 2 and 5%. But I mean, that's still 2 and 5% of the field that's stone dead, taking a zero you're ahead of in this contest. And that's going to happen tonight.
Yeah. Calvin and Hobo, what's up, dude? He said, do you think more than 15% of the field will play someone like that, rake free slate? No, I don't think it'll be like 15%, but I definitely think there will be plenty of people that, and you know, it might not even be the Deshaun Watsons. Like, they might know Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers aren't playing, but I'll tell you what, like the way to really get the edge too, Matt, is when people hear that a Garrett Wilson is playing a preseason game, even though the prevailing logic is that he's really only going to play one drive and they play him anyway. So this one's a little different because all of them have already been ruled inactive. Like, all of them aren't playing.
Yeah, but to your point, like, you'll know Nick Chubb's not playing, but how many people know Jerome Ford is out?
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Yes.
Those of you in the chat know. You're grinders if you're here in the chat, but there are guys. I mean, if I wasn't working in this company, I'd probably do this. You see that the Hall of Fame slate game is on, you fire up DraftKings and you fire in a lineup. And you don't. So there are going to be people that do that.
Absolutely. And the Jerome Ford thing is the best example out there, because people go, well, Chubb's out, but Ford's the top backup.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about tight ends. We'll build a lineup after this as well. Is it viable to play tight ends on a Hall of Fame slate tonight?
They're a little further down than receivers for me, even more volatile. A lot of times they'll get stuck blocking. You know, like these back of the roster guys, they're not just being evaluated for their pass catching, they're also being evaluated for what they do in the run game, pass blocking situations. So they don't get as many routes generally. With that said, there's a couple situations that I think you can take advantage of, and there might be 2 tonight. I'm on the fence. I have single digit ownership of both of these guys just for your reference in my own crunches. But the 2 I would look at primarily are Zach Kuntz. The pecking order in New York is pretty defined. You have Conklin and Uzoma at the top. They're not cutting Jeremy Ruckert. He's a 3rd round pick. He'll be their 3rd tight end. What I think they're really evaluating is if they want to keep 4 and have a receiving specialist like Kuntz on the roster. This guy originally went to Penn State, transferred to Old Dominion, had a really productive year in 2021, caught 73 balls, almost 700 yards before he got hurt. And then he went to the combine, stood 6'7", 251 pounds, and ran a 4.55 40-yard dash. This is a bona fide mismatch in the slot, similar to like a Donald Parham, if he actually has the skills that can translate to this level. The beat reporters think he's going to get a lot of run tonight. I agree because of those reasons. He's in my player pool, again, single-digit ownership, under 5%, but I think he's worth a flyer. And then Cleveland only has 2 tight ends active tonight. Zaire Mitchell-Payton and Thomas Greeny. I think a flyer on them is okay. Mitchell-Payton went to FAU. He originally caught 90 balls with Notre Dame College before trying to make the jump to FBS. Didn't work. So I'm not really too excited there. And then Greeny came out of Albany, caught 50 balls. The only reason I'm interested in those 2 is they only have 2 tight ends that are playing. So maybe a flyer. Again, I'm around 2% on both these guys, 2% and some change. So definitely not heavy exposure whatsoever.
Man, all I want to do is get to the point of the year where I can play some Jelani Woods.
You got me on him, man. I've been taking him in best ball now.
In the last round, right?
Yep.
He's free. Yeah. I love that guy. He's an athletic freak. But yeah, man. I mean, tight ends are tough. Defense is pretty easy. Just play. Don't go anywhere. Don't leave yet, because this is important. Kicker and defense on a showdown slate. I want to make sure we're giving everybody enough time to get their lineups in. We still have about a little over 10 minutes to go. Let's break down. I mean, who cares if these kickers are good or not, or defenses are good? We're not evaluating whether they're good or not. We're talking overall strategy here, game theory with kickers and with defenses. We do know, if you came in late, you didn't hear this, but we do know that each team only has one kicker on the roster. That's super important. There's no kicker competitions. If there are field goal attempts, you're going to get them. Also consider in the preseason, a lot of times teams just might go for it where they might not go for it before that. Probably not. There's going to be opportunities to go for 2 instead of kicking extra points. That's worth considering. But what are we doing with Cade York and Greg Zuerlein tonight?
Playing them both. I'm not against playing them both in the same lineup. I'm not against captaining them. If you're trying to go for something up top, I would consider a quarterback or a running back just because of the touchdown equity is probably going to elevate you over a kicker. But these are very safe guys. I have a slight preference towards Zuerlein, just the higher implied team total, but that's just a break a tie. I think they're both fine. That's the same on the defensive side of the ball. With the Jets, you have the slightly higher implied team total, and you're going to be facing third and fourth stringers all night. The Browns actually are going to have to face Zach Wilson for what should be a brief period of time, but we don't know that. Maybe it's a quarter, and he's the best player that's probably going to see the field tonight. So that's enough to break a tie, but I'm heavily exposed to all 4 of these, both defenses, both kickers, playing them in captain, playing them in flex, playing them everywhere. Don't care if I'm running skill positions against the defenses. So volatile that sometimes pick sixes can help both. Playing them everywhere.
Okay. Who are your favorite captains? We could go across the board with captains today. Generally speaking, though, it's going to be one of these 2 or 3 quarterbacks if you want to get a little wild. Defenses, maybe, like, if you really think Abanikanda is going to play a half, that is interesting at least. Hard to play wide receiver at captain, especially if you have that quarterback, because who knows how many opportunities outside of one big play they get. Who are your favorite captains?
2 highest captains. I think this will surprise nobody, both defenses.
Yeah.
Then it's Mond and DTR, but it's a little more spread than you think. I'm at 24% of both defenses, 14% Mond. DTR is at 12, so it's very close there. And then I'm trying to spread out some of these running backs. If one of these guys falls in the end zone once, or God forbid twice, they're probably taking down a tournament. So I'm around the 4 to 6% range on Hassan Hall, Abanikanda, Kelly, and then mixing in the kickers there. I like the kickers. I think they're safer. I prefer to play them in the flex, but single digits on the kickers as well.
Want to build a lineup out here? We still got 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, let's do it. Actually, one thing quick before, I don't think I mentioned Travis Dye. I just want to give him a little bit of shine here because we're not sure how much Abanikanda plays. If it's just a half, I think Dye is the one that probably benefits most from that. He's a UDFA out of USC. Maybe would have got drafted, probably not, but he tore his ACL 8 months ago towards the end of the season. But I think once they pull Abanikanda, he's going to be the guy that gets most of the work. But other than that, I think we touched on everyone. So yeah, let's build a lineup.
And with running backs, all it takes is them to spring loose on one play, and you're either ecstatic or you're miserable because that changes everything. Also, hey, guys, we've been hung up at 99 likes for a little while. Could take a single second. I mean, all we need is one person to hit that thumbs up to get us to 100 likes. I mean, that's just one person to show some kindness and get us there, and we'll be well on our way. Let's build a lineup, Matt. So,
yes, sir. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Captain spot. It's so funny doing it with preseason. You want to go Browns or Jets? Is there really anything to differentiate there? I mean, you could kind of just flip a coin for these defenses, but I think ultimately Jets defense, 1, they actually have some depth, and 2, it's a 5th round rookie that's probably going to play a half, and Kellen Mond playing the other half. I do favor the Jets defense a little more than the Browns tonight.
Agreed.
All right. You want to go Jets captain?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Since I pulled that one, go with the next one.
Yeah, it would. Let's keep this easy. Second defense, put it in there.
Okay. And do we care at all about playing like DTR with Jets captain?
I do not care.
No, you can't. You can't care at all. All right. So let's play DTR. We don't have to worry about salary, so we're just picking guys.
I would pick Mon too, honestly.
All right. Let's go. Do you think this will be do you think some people will be averse to doing something like, do you think some people won't want to play even though it doesn't matter, but do you think some people won't want to play DTR and Kellen Mond with the Jets captain?
Yeah, I definitely think that's
me too.
I thought about it, but I don't care after reflecting for a little bit.
Well, I mean, dude, they're not getting pulled for playing poorly. So these guys could each throw a pick six and then each throw a touchdown.
Absolutely. And they're going to run. So you're, even if it's a low scoring game environment, you're going to accrue rushing production from both of them that maybe don't hurt the defense.
All right. We got Jets, Browns, DTR, and Mond. I think we're probably looking at Hall or Banakanda. What do you want to go? Do we go defense? Or running back here? Or do we want any stacks with Cleveland pass catchers?
I love the running backs. I think this is a good point. And I think we want one running back at least. Any one of the top three, I don't care. And then if it's a larger field, let's do a receiver at the end. So that way, for larger fields, we can kind of give someone an idea.
All right. I'm going to go Israel Abanikanda here. And
love it.
Yeah, I think it's nice. Gives us plus we need a Jets player anyway. We can't. Oh, well, we have Jets defense. Never mind. Defense running back correlation, Matt. There you go. Who do you want to play? We got one left, wide receiver. Give me your top dog.
For larger tournaments, I would avoid Tillman. If you're playing anything, under 5,000 people, I think Tillman's fine. Assuming you're playing larger field, I would pivot to a Dalen Baldwin, someone who's probably going to play a little later in the game, probably going to play with DTR a fair amount. He would be a good GPP play for Cleveland as a pass catcher.
Okay. Man, I'm so concerned that Strevler is going to end up. Man, I just hope Strevler doesn't play close to a full half, because that would be, not having. Do you have any of him?
Yeah. Let me
just see. Not a lot of captain.
I have 24%.
Okay. But not a lot of captain.
0 captain.
Okay. So just all utility or flex. Okay.
Yep.
Let's get the final thoughts in here. Oh, damn. It went from 99 to 167 likes. You guys are the best. God, I love football. So let's go. Number one, if you're looking at the odds in this game, and I on the record, Jets -1.5. They're at -2.5 on DraftKings right now. FanDuel still got them at -1.5. So always make sure if you're betting them to shop books, make sure you're on as many as possible. There's key numbers don't really matter in preseason football. Do you have any read on this game outside of DFS for the betting man?
I prefer the Jets. They're playing more talented players. Zach Wilson, Mekhi Becton's going to get out there.
They said he's going to play 25 snaps.
Yeah, that's wild. He might be the best player on the field. He's good. He's just been hurt. We'll see what he can actually offer. Yes, that too. Hopefully
he dropped 50 pounds.
And he's still enormous.
Yeah,
he's not in a bad way. He's a monstrous human.
Oh, yeah, he's just a beast of a human. Yeah.
Yeah.
But those guys, you've seen them when they retire, sometimes it gets ugly.
Or you're who's the guy that just Joe Thomas lost a lot of weight? Okun.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, it can get ugly too.
It can get ugly, man. Who was the New York Giants quarterback? And then he played in the Arena Football League. He actually died.
I do not know.
Oh, yes, dude, he was 400-pound quarterback.
I don't know. Not off the top of my head.
Dude, he was a 400-pound NFL quarterback at one point. You'll have to look him up. Mike, do you know who I'm talking about? Oh, Lorenzen. Thank you, Josh. Lorenzen. Before we go, for you guys watch, just pull up Lorenzen. I want Matt to see him. Put him on screen. Find the one of him in Arena Football. But yeah, he did. Josh, I'm pretty certain he died. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure.
Googling it. The fourth thing that comes up is Lorenzen death.
Yeah, he died. He was maybe he wasn't 400, but I'm pretty certain that he was. He was enormous, dude. Absolutely enormous. You have to see the Arena Football He's wearing like a bright green jersey. Mike, you got it? Yeah, dude. Then he was on the River Monsters. Matt, did you see that?
Yeah, geez.
That's a quarterback.
That's insane.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, hopefully this guys help, or hopefully this helped for you guys. We'll be back. You know it. Oh, you got preseason. We're going to be here Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. There's 4 days of preseason every week going forward. Best of luck. Enjoy the Hall of Fame game. It's finally here. Be it in a watered down fashion. It's finally here. Thanks for hanging out, guys. And if there's 10 of you that want to hit that thumbs up before you go, get us to 200. That'd be cool. If not, no big deal. Good luck tonight. Follow Matt at Mac_Gajewski on Twitter. Me at Laffy_D. And remember, you sign up at PrizePicks. First month of Stochastic Plus Platinum, 100% free, $120 value, including all of Matt's preseason stuff, all the projections, everything for the preseason. And they got preseason props on PrizePicks, which is wild, but they have it, and we're going to use it. So we'll see you back here soon. Thanks, guys.